Hey, everybody. Okay, I need to make sure that I am. Hello, everybody. What's up, you guys? Dallas, I know you're back there. I see you down the queue, so just hang tight. I'm gonna wait till I get people on the live filtering in. So let me go check my Facebook and make sure that we are on public instead of a private, video. So I'll be right back, guys. Edit. Boom. Okay, good. Now we are on public, so the people will be able to see us. All right, let me get myself situated. I had to go tell my husband to watch the dog because my little Rocky is my right-hand man, and he will come in here and try to be in the business. So what's up, everybody? Welcome to my Facebook page, Nikki Pludre, aka Discovering Nicole. You guys, I'm a person in recovery. I've been sober from multiple different drugs for 9 years now, and I love bringing people on to share their stories of recovery, whatever that looks like to them. I love sharing multiple pathways to recovery. I love sharing all kinds of different people from different communities. And tonight we have Dallas Bragg joining me. And Dallas, I found him on TikTok about a week and a half ago. I think it was like a week and a half or 2 weeks ago. I was scrolling on TikTok, and you know how when you're on TikTok, I was just like mindlessly scrolling, and I saw this. First of all, I saw this gorgeous man with his shirt off walking in the sun in the wilderness, in nature. And I heard him say, "So you want to stop Tina?" And I was like, "Tina?" And you guys know I'm an old school meth addict. Okay. I was doing meth back in the day in the 90s. And so when I heard him say, I'm going to help you learn how to stop using Tina, I was like, stop dead in my tracks. And so I started watching a bunch of his videos, and I immediately became obsessed because he is so real, so raw, and so authentic with the way he shares the information that he's sharing online about overcoming methamphetamine addiction. And so I know that if I enjoyed watching his content, I know you guys are going to enjoy him as well. And he helps men all over the United States and all over the world, helps them get sober from methamphetamine addiction. He is in the LGBTQI plus community. He is a gay man, and he struggled with meth addiction for many, many years. So without further ado, let me stop yapping and let me bring Dallas up so you guys can meet him. Give me 1 second. Oh, hold on a second. How do I? Hey, Dallas.
Hey, Nicole. How are you? What'd you say?
Can you hear me?
I can. It's echo. I'm echoing.
Okay. Let me see. Well, you know what? I'm not going to be talking on my end, so I think we're going to be okay. Let me ask the viewers. Hey, Laura, I see that you're in here. Are you hearing an echo on your end? Are you guys hearing an echo on your end?
I'll talk too. See if you have an echo. Nope, I don't hear an echo.
Yeah, you sound perfect. So okay. Let me see. I also want to put the layout like this, so that way we are large and in charge. There we go.
Yeah, I like that.
That looks better. Okay. So, like I said, this is what we're going to do, you guys. I'm really laid back whenever I have people on the channel. I just really want this to be like an opportunity for you guys to hear Dallas's story. So what we're going to do, Dallas, is I'm going to mute my mic, and I am going to allow you to take over. What I would like for you to do is share with us, take us from the beginning, share with us what it was like when you were growing up, how you got into using illegal drugs, and how that affected your life, what it was like in active addiction, and how you got sober. And there's nothing that you can't share here. You can be very transparent. There's nothing that you could say that would embarrass me, and my audience is the same way. So yeah. I'm going to let you take the lead, and I'm going to zip it.
Uh, thank you. Are there restrictions since we're on Facebook, though, as far as words that I can say? I don't want to get us
I'm pretty
thrown off.
sure you should be fine saying everything. Like I cuss on here, I say the drugs names. Um, I have never had any issues here on Facebook, so I think you should be just fine.
Okay. Yeah, I see the comments too. Homer says, "Is he really from Dallas? Or am I stunting?" No, my name is Dallas. I wasn't named after Dallas. I was named after a TV show back in the 70s named Dallas. So, um, yeah, so a lot of people ask me, when did your addiction start? And they're expecting something, I don't know, tragic maybe in my adulthood, like I lost it all and turned to drugs. But I actually can track my addiction back to when I was about 6 years old. I think that's when my meth addiction started, and it was a comment. There was two things that happened. One was my dad looked at me and said, "I think you were switched at birth because I don't think you can't be my real son." Because so my father I grew up in West Virginia. So my dad was kind of a hellraiser, the whole gamut that you would think of. And then my mom came from a strict Pentecostal holiness family. So it was two worlds, but I was nothing like him. Right. So that stood out in my mind. And also once when I was pretending by myself in a room to be on a stage. I was walking on my tiptoes like I was on high heels, and I was performing my heart out, probably a Dolly Parton song if I were to guess. And my mom walked in and caught me and just let me have it. You don't act like a girl. If your dad ever sees that, blah, blah, blah. Those two comments started a imprint in my mind that I was not accepted, that I was abnormal, and that if I ever let my true self shine, that it would be wrong and gross, and that I would be persecuted for that. So that's what started me actually being closeted too, because I knew I was gay early on. Early on, I was fantasizing about the other boys in the classroom. Um, so I had that message from him, and then I had from the church, the Pentecostal church, said that I was demon possessed.
You grew up Pentecostal?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my God, so
Yeah.
did I.
Nice.
Like, I literally cannot believe this. Like, we have so much common.
Yeah.
That is, I mean, I do meet quite a few people that grew up Pentecostal
Mhm,
living down here in the South, but I don't meet that many people online that grew up
mhm,
Pentecostal.
mhm.
We went to a United Pentecostal church, couldn't cut my hair, couldn't wear earrings,
Oh,
makeup,
yeah, all that.
no pants. I grew up wearing culottes.
Kulaks. I love a ku I
So
love
anyway,
kulaks.
sorry, I just had to say something because yes,
Yeah,
I grew up Pentecostal as well. So continue
yeah,
on.
yeah. Yeah, so as you know, in the Pentecostal church, homosexuality is an evil spirit, it's a demon that can be delivered. And so I went up to the church, I went up to the altar, and I tried my best to get this thing delivered out of me, and kept thinking it was. I would come back to my seat, and I'm like, okay, thank you, God, it's gone. It wasn't like a week too late. Weeks later, I was well. I'm older, so we didn't have internet, we didn't have phone. I had a Men's Health magazine. That was my porn, and the Sears catalog, the underwear section. And so I would find myself, lingering there, and jerking off. So I had this message early that I didn't belong anywhere, and that um, so I was on this search constantly for validation or proof that I belonged somewhere. And I grew. So as I got older, I graduated high school, and I knew that I couldn't be out in the real world, so I married a woman quickly, and we had kids quickly. Actually, I married two women, but I'm trying to make this story short. But
So can I
yeah,
just say something? I
yeah,
want to
yeah.
let you know that I can relate to your feeling of not feeling like you fit in. I had the same feelings growing up. Like I just felt like I was different than everybody else.
Mhm.
Mine was more centered around my mom was Mexican and my dad was Italian, and I grew up in a little country school. And then I also struggled with my weight, so I was always like thinking that I was fat. Just those
Mhm.
internal dialogue of I just am not like everyone else, and I
Mhm.
cannot shake this feeling. And it was like such a strong feeling, and so hearing you talk about having these same feelings centered around, knowing that you were different because of your sexuality and then not being accepted because your family was, Pentecostal is a very religious religion, you guys. Like it's not, you are in the church, you are at altar calls, you are at, what do they call it, where they have like 3 days and you're like, it's like
Revival.
revivals.
Mhm.
Revivals. I grew up sleeping underneath the pews and stuff, and so when you're different and you grow up in that religious belief, it's you are shunned. You are
Yeah.
shunned. You, if you don't change what they believe is not accepted, then they look at you as there's something wrong with you, and they need to um basically like get the devil out of you, like have what do they do when
It's
um
an exorcism. It's a
exorcism, yes,
deliverance.
that's what I'm
Yeah.
trying to say, yes,
Mhm.
like that, and
Mhm.
pray around you, and it's so intense, and if you don't change, or they don't think you've changed, then you're like ostracized. So
Mhm.
I can really relate to your experience, even though it's a totally different experience, totally two
Yeah.
different ends of the spectrum, but kind of meeting in the
But
middle.
but the underlying theme here is shame, right?
Yes.
It's always shame. I feel like I think that's a common, no matter what addiction we're in or where we come from. I think the underlying theme is always it always comes back to shame. So
And if
there
you
was a
see me looking down, just so you know, I'm sharing this video into all the recovery groups on Facebook right now. So I just don't want you to think I'm being rude. Okay.
no,
Okay.
I don't, I
All
don't,
right.
I don't think you could ever be rude. I mean, you haven't yet, so. Yeah, so I'll try to concise the story, but so I got married, had kids quick. I dove into so I have a habit of finding my self-worth in being needed. So I made myself be needed by my wife and kids. So they didn't have to think, they didn't have to feel, they didn't have to do. They I took care of everything all the time, 24/7. And that's how that allowed me to push everything down. And I dove myself, into them. However, it wasn't, I guess when I was about 30, it started getting to me. I started to become suicidal. And the voices in my head were so loud sometimes that I would be on the way to work. I would have the windows down, the radio all the way up, and I would be screaming at the top of my lungs because I couldn't stand it anymore. It was just this cycle of thinking I'm forgiven and delivered, and then by the time, as the years went on, we got computers. It was AOL dial up, and I would be in the AOL rooms, and I would finally see a pixelated like pornographic image. It would take me 15 minutes for it to load, but I was like, yeah, yeah, and so I would be doing that a week later. And there's just cycle, 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 and self-loathing and shame and living this lie. And so I finally it's like, you know what? I can't do this. I had my death planned. And so I ended up being checked myself into a mental facility, psych ward, and in order to get out, I had to have a family meeting with my wife. And so I told her that I was having homosexual tendencies, is what we called them in the church. Unwanted homosexual tendencies. Um, I don't know why she was surprised because, I've always kind of acted the same. But she, we decided we would pray it away and we would, and go from there. And we never talked about it again. Fast forward a few years, I finally got to the point where I saw where we were brainwashing the kids, that they were holding beliefs that we told them to believe from the church. They didn't know why they believed it. They just knew it. The church said so. And I just said, you know what? I have to model something to them. There's a lot of reasons here. For one, I'm dying inside. Two, as I need to model honesty, authenticity to my kids. Um, and three, I'm lying to everyone, and I'm lying to my wife, and it's not fair. Somebody else could take care of her and really love her in a way that I couldn't. I loved her as a friend, and that was it. And but then I resented her, you
Did
know.
she not have any kind of inkling or like
She knew.
feeling, not no offense or anything, but like
Yeah,
I feel like I feel like with every guy that I've ever been friends with that was gay, like I even before, like even when I was younger, my best friend in high school, he didn't come out until after we graduated, and when he did finally come out, I was like, baby, I
yeah,
know. You
yeah.
know what I mean? And so she didn't have any kind
She
of
knew.
like sense of that.
Well, she knew, but I mean, I told her in the psych ward for one, and but the other thing is she kept finding, gay porn on the computer.
Yeah.
Um, she knew. I just think by me leaving, I was ripping the rug out from under her. Like I said, I had did everything for her, and I then and I did it in a very immature way. I came out and I was gone in like 2 weeks. I wasted no time. But I mean, I was 36. I had waited, over 3 decades now, and I was finally free, right? And I was finally found my tribe. I found the place I would belong to. This is the answer to all my problems all my life, That little boy who was performing that day would get to finish performing, right? And so I didn't know any gay people, but I dove right into the gay scene. And what I found was something very different than what I expected, which was not acceptance. I heard comments about my effeminate nature. I heard comments about my clothes. I learned that there's cliques and there's levels and there's labels and there's this and there's that. And what are you? Are you a daddy? Are you this? Are you that? And I then, and there was this whole culture and subculture that I just wasn't ready for. I thought that I seriously, honest to God, thought that when I came out, when I walked into a gay bar, that they would just be like, welcome, and just hugging me and like rainbows and glitter and something. But it wasn't. It wasn't anything like that. It was they didn't talk to me. They would maybe send me a message on Grinder, but no one talked to your face, you know. And so when I got to the gay community and still didn't feel accepted and where I belonged there, then I crashed mentally. I was like, where do I belong? I belong nowhere. And what have I done? I've now destroyed and burned down my life for this, for them, you know. And so I was just I was devastated. I ended up finally I went into this, this big horror stage where I would find my validation on Grinder. Anybody who wanted to have sex, I'd meet. Finally found a guy that would meet me more than once. And I latched on to him, and so we dated, very closely dated for almost a year. That ended, and that's when I found crystal meth. So the day I found crystal meth, I was on Grinder, the geo social dating app that we use. It's not a dating app though; it's a hookup app. But there was a guy on there who asked me if I partied, and at the time I was drinking quite a bit. That was my partying. It was Sunday morning, 10 a.m. So I'm thinking day drinking, I don't know, cookout, I don't know, pool party. And so he was hot on the
Little
square.
did you know,
Yeah.
partying.
Right. Right. So I get to this house where the grass is overgrown, the shutters are falling off, it looks like it's abandoned. And I was like, do I have the address right? And I checked again and I went up there and this guy answers. Well, the guy, it wasn't his house, he was visiting, but he was hot, and I was like, well, I'm here. I'm here, I'm horny. Um, let's go. And so we go in. The house is, as you would imagine, a trap house, just stuff everywhere. There was TVs with porn everywhere. There was a sling. The couch, he like moved stuff over so he could sit on it. And, but the thing is, this man was looking at me like like I was the most beautiful, hot, sexy man he'd ever seen in his life. He was touching me and treating me like I had never in my life. And I was like, this is what I've been looking for. No one has made me feel this accepted.
Yeah, he was feeling it.
He
And
was
so he
high.
was feeling you.
He was high as fuck. Is what
Yeah.
is what it was. I didn't know that, and so he had asked me if I partied, and I said yes. So he hands me the pipe, and I was like,
What
I'm
is
just,
this?
I'm just holding it like, what? I don't know. And so he was like, you said you partied. So anyway, he showed me how to use the pipe, and he had some GHB, and so we used that too. That was the first time in my 39 years that I had ever felt free to be me. It didn't matter what I looked like. It didn't matter how old I was. It didn't matter how effeminate my voice was. It didn't matter what I did. He wanted me so bad. And then when I smoked that stuff, I wanted him so bad. And there was no more shame. There was no more insecurities. That I belonged in that moment. I belonged right there with him. And that was what I had been looking for all of my life. And when I talk to guys now and my clients, most of them will say the first time they took that puff or they injected, that's the comment they say. This is what I've been looking for all my life.
100%. 100%. Same. The first time I ever did it, I was like, wow, this is helping me. I felt like it helped me. It helped me communicate better, it helped me focus better, it helped me work
Mm,
better. It made me feel more pretty. It made me
mm,
have confidence.
mm.
Then when I started injecting it, that was the next step up. Then that made me like lose all of my, like I had like blocks, from being intimate with people. And when I injected, it made it to where I wasn't afraid to do a three-way. I wasn't afraid to,
Uh,
go down on a girl or go down on
oh
a guy,
yeah.
and do all different stuff. It made me totally free.
Interesting. Yeah, 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 yeah. And men will say, what I want is the sex when I do crystal meth, but what it is really is what you want is an escape from the shame you're carrying. You want a break from life. um, and so we ended up, we left there and went to my house for we did it all night. you
Upside
know,
down, in the
upside,
yard, in the pool, underneath the
his
bed, on top of the bed.
Yeah, that was the only time I've ever been fisted. I mean, it was everything. I mean,
Yeah.
check box, and I was there for it too. I was in it. And I thought, and so I also thought we would be boyfriends. I thought, okay, he's mine. And he wasn't, obviously. But after a couple days, he left. Um, and then I had all the side effects and everything. But that I was in. Like that was the first drug I ever tried at all, any drug.
And how old were you?
39.
Wow.
Mhm.
39 years old. First time you ever did any kind of illegal drug. You had drank a little bit of alcohol, but nothing serious, right?
No, I had yeah, I had been drunk, and
Yeah.
but the drinking only came after I came out, and that was 36. So I was drinking some before I came out, but not a lot. So yeah, that was the first drug I tried, and I dove in with both feet. So at the time, I was finishing up my doctorate. I was an executive at a law school. I was working as a adjunct professor. So I was making well over six figures, probably 130, 140,000 a year. And I just dove in. I couldn't get enough, and I did it every day. And so you know, I can't, I don't want to go into all the details. So it started out as smoking, and it started out as every other weekend when the kids weren't there. Then it started out every weekend. Then it led into the weeks, and you know, and then it was just, you know, on and on and on. I knew everybody in the meth community. I used all the time, and then I started injecting, and that's when it got worse. So I ended up losing my job. Obviously, my car was possessed, and then repossessed, not possessed. And then my second car was repossessed. Um, and then we ended up getting evicted. I was arrested for felony possession charges 4 times. And so after only 3 years, I was living on the streets, and still trying, thinking that things were going to work out, you know, that I was just right on the verge. You know, I got it somewhere along the lines when I lost my job and got arrested, then I couldn't get a job besides a restaurant job.
Yep.
And that's when I started, I got addicted to shoplifting, because when I was injecting 3 times a day. So I couldn't really work. Some people can. I don't know how they do it. Um,
I would
I
go to
can't.
my job, but I would literally be so high. I would be in psychosis a lot of the times at my
Wow.
job. And I
Mm,
had this little man, his name was Mr. Bobby, and I was the manager of the deli inside of a Kroger. And
mm.
he would look out for me because I would start to talk to people that weren't there. And he would
Uh,
say, Miss Nicole, uh, you can go
mm,
home. I'm going to take your shift because you're talking to people that aren't there. Like he knew what was up. You know what I mean? He looked out for me for a long time, but eventually he couldn't look out for me anymore. And I got caught up
mm,
by management and lost my
mm.
job. So I would think I could manage and I would make it a little bit, but then I ended up getting fired from all my jobs because
Oh,
of
wow.
meth.
Wow. Yeah. Well, my executive job, I was just smoking. However, I mean, I was doing I got into the habit of doing these major hot rails before work. And so I would just be, you know, so wired. And then there was a picture going around the conference, the boardroom had one wall that was all glass. There's a picture going around of me asleep on it. Like during the board meeting, I had fallen asleep. They couldn't wake me up.
Yeah.
You know, so people are walking down up and down the hall, and I'm just, you know, and so it didn't last long. Not didn't last long at all. But yeah, so I got addicted to shoplifting, and I got into a lot of fraud. So we printed our own money. We printed our own
Yep.
$10 bills. Uh,
Listen to me, why do people that do meth get into counterfeiting
I
money?
don't know. But
Like
we
counterfeiting money,
we
identity theft,
yes,
shoplifting.
shoplifting.
Yep,
So
all of it.
I mean, I had all these suits. You know, I would dress up in my suit. I was an older white man. I would walk into Walmart or Target, fill my cart up, and walk right out. Not
Yep,
a
they will be none the wiser.
not a second look, nothing. And I had taken the pictures of what I was stealing, texted them to my friends out in the car. They were already putting the pictures on Facebook Marketplace
Yep.
and getting them sold for cash. That was our daily regime.
That was a legit hustle, and you could make good money doing this kind of stuff. I
Oh
did the
yeah.
same kind of stuff, so you're not alone.
Yeah, yeah. So, you know, that went on, and I was homeless. My mom came and picked me up. She lives in West Virginia. I finally had to. The only thing I had was a phone, and that was because she paid for the phone. But I texted her, and I called her, and I was like, okay, I've had it. I'm done. I'm done. I'm living under a tree right now, you
Yeah.
know. And she picked me up, took me to West Virginia, and I was supposed to get sober there. It did last probably a month and a half to 2 months, and then I relapsed, made my way back to Charlotte. So that last time I got arrested is when I was calling everybody with using my phone call. Nobody would answer this time. All my family was like, "We're done," you know, but except my daughter. My daughter, she was 16 at the time. Uh, and my son was 14. But my daughter was always concerned about where I was, always trying to make sure I was okay. She knew I was out, doing drugs. Um, she was trying to reach me for my birthday because my birthday was coming up. And anyway, she answered my call. She would put money on my account. in jail. And this little 16-year-old who, by the way, I shut her checking account down because I wrote a bad check on it, you know.
Yeah.
And she answered the call and she come and picked me up. So she and my son picked me up. All I had was my clothes. They picked me up and we went to a park. And at the time, so there was some things going on with their mother, with my ex-wife, and they said, we need a parent. Like we need a parent, and we want you to be that parent. And so I made a promise to them that day. That was 8/4/18, and my birthday's 8/5. But that I would do it, and that I would be done, and I would choose it. So they drove me downtown. I got a job right away at a restaurant, with, and then I mean, I will admit I did steal some clothes from Walmart to wear to the restaurant. It's what I did.
Got to
Um,
do what you got to do.
you gotta do what you gotta do. I stole them air mattress too. So I had an air mattress and I had some clothes and I started waiting tables. And I went to drug treatment court. Drug treatment court, you have to be tested. You have to go downtown and pee in a cup like 4 or 5 times a week. You have to go to rehab. You have to see the judge every other week. You have to see your caseworker on the off week, your probation officer. It's a full-time fucking
It
job
is.
to
Yeah.
do
Drug court.
drug court.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
don't they do like they have you call in, it's like your color or
Yeah.
number?
It's a
Yes.
color.
Oh my gosh. I couldn't
Yeah.
do drug court. I they offered it, but I was like, no. And I just went to prison. They violated my probation. I went to prison.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I managed to stay out of prison because
Thank
of
yeah. And
drug
thank
court.
God you were able to, because your kids needed you. Just like
Yes.
that,
Yeah.
I feel like that was like I mean, your higher power or something coming and intervening, because that's what you needed to realize that you had to make a change. Your kids coming and needing you at that moment, you know?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, it was. It was all, I think, ordained. And then, I couldn't do it anymore. I just I couldn't use it anymore. So so at that point, that's when I started the rebuilding, right? And I then I got addicted to being sober. I got addicted to milestones. That's where my dopamine rush was, right? Okay, I've got the job. Now I'm living in a extended stay. Okay, now I'm this, now I'm that. I did After I got a car, I did prostitute myself for the first time. I didn't prostitute myself when I was in active addiction, but I was still a sex addict. So I prostituted myself for about 3 months to try to get we had to get money for
Yeah.
a house to rent, and I had an eviction and a felony. So who's gonna rent to me without paying, we had to pay a double deposit and all this kind of shit. And so I did that for several months so that I could, get us in a house. So I got the kids back. We were in a house. I was almost done with drug court. I got the car. I got a nicer job, and things were rolling along. And then about a year in, when I graduated drug court, and my charges were dismissed, and things were evening out. That's when I was like, "Whoa, I don't like this. Where's the chaos?"
Yeah.
You know, where's the dopamine that I was getting? And this is adult life, and this is what I didn't like in the first place. So I was standing at the kitchen counter, at the kitchen sink, dirty dishes in the sink, and I just stopped, and my stomach sank, and I was like, "This is not the life I want." And so I picked my phone up. My first inclination was like, you know what? I can use. I don't have drug court anymore. And so I ran outside, and I was just in this was a decisional point for me. Like, either you get on your phone and you try to find drugs, or you get on your phone and you block everybody that you could ever think of that could get you drugs. And I looked up at the sky, and that's what I did. I just started blocking, deleting everybody I could think of. And when I did that, there was this release that came on me, and I literally audibly heard, "We've been waiting for you." And I was standing there, and I had like chill bumps, and I looked over, and they were like, "You are this tree," was the next thing. And I looked over, and there was a tree dead, decomposing on the ground. And I was like, oh, I have to die to everything I am has to die about me and be repurposed.
Yeah.
Everything about me has to die. And it's a decomposition. It's like it's in the shadow work when it's a putrefaction to stage. And so then that's the first time when I really felt that there was a spiritual energy out there, because of the trauma that I had from the Pentecostal church. I had turned my back on any notion of Jesus, God,
Yep.
all that higher power stuff. But this was the first time I felt a connection, a guidance, something higher outside of me to say, now you're here. Now you have removed the barriers between you and us, and we're ready to work. And so I ran inside and I was like, I'm doing everything spiritual I can do right now. And the only spiritual word I could think of was chakra. And so I got on YouTube and was like, what is a chakra? And I just started, just going down this route of I'm going to find something higher than me. I'm going to be connected to something. And so I dove into that. That became my new addiction. I found a community of spiritual people that they didn't care. They offered me that unconditional acceptance that I've been looking for. They didn't care how I acted or what I looked like or what my sexuality was or anything like that. They were all just really dead set on healing and being better every day and self-actualizing. And so I ended up what really projected me into my sobriety, which a lot of people, this is controversial, but I went to an ayahuasca retreat. And
Really? That's
yeah.
awesome. I've heard so many great things
Mhm.
about ayahuasca
Yeah.
before. Like I've had friends that have done it too.
Yeah, I went to this ayahuasca retreat, and that's when I was like, I'm that tree. I'm that rock. I was so connected, and there was such this love of everything and everybody that was there. And the vulnerability that I could display, that because that's the one thing meth gave me was this chance to be vulnerable. I could be naked in front of anybody. I could be naked at, I love public stuff. I could be naked at the park. I want, I'd have sex in traffic, but this was a new kind of vulnerability. This was a true like healing and vulnerability that set me free. And so that group became my sober support network. And they weren't, they weren't addicts, and they weren't gay either. It didn't matter. We were just all there to be better every day and to learn to love and to have empathy and to understand that you or me, like I don't end and you don't begin. We're one. Everything in you is everything in me. And so that's what really propelled me to a new state of being. And I didn't call myself an addict anymore. I said I experienced addiction, and I had to experience it to get me where I am here now today. I'm not.
I love that.
Yeah.
I try, like, I still use the word addict quite a bit, but I try to realize that, like, that's no longer me, and I've grown past that. I feel, and I'm learning more, and I am actually consuming more content where people talk about, like, um, not giving their power over to the word addiction and addict, and that, um, you know, when we are saying those things over and over again, that's like a self-fulfilling prophecy that that's the only thing we're ever going to be, and we can't be more than that, and we're so much more than what our struggles were. So I just so you know, like, a lot of stuff you say there, it's not controversial to me at all, because
Okay.
I am also believe that,
Yeah.
but if you had caught me like 6 years ago when I first started out, I was so brainwashed by
Yeah.
12 step and
Yeah.
by the treatment industry
Yeah.
that that's because that's all they teach everybody. And that's how a lot of people are learning right now. And so by us sharing and talking about it here, it helps people to have like a different perspective, So
Mhm.
I support it. I totally
Mhm.
agree with what you're saying.
Well, thank you. Yeah, like I'll share my story, and somebody from NA will come up and say, hey, can you share at our meeting? And I'm like, sure, but I'll tell you that I'm also a big fan of psilocybin, you know. And they're like, oh, never mind. And it's like it's such a shame because you're blocking out stories that of other people in their recovery journey that could help someone else.
Yeah, we
It's
can't
not a
live
one
our
size.
lives afraid of substances for the rest of
Right.
our lives.
Right, right, and one size doesn't fit all either, and, I've had people on Twitter say, "Well, you're just replacing one drug with another." I'm like, "No, I'm not. Yeah, I'm not addicted to ayahuasca."
Right.
It brought me from one state of being into another and helped me see myself in a new way and also get a new appreciation for my family. And they ayahuasca showed me, it took me back to scenario. It was like uh what was that? The night before Christmas, where he goes like, Christmas is past.
Yeah.
It took me to situations where I was neglecting my kids. Like the kids wanted to hang out with me longer and I stopped hanging out with them, or I would deny them this and that. So anyway, I was seeing that, I the best gift I could ever give my kids was my time. And what I was thinking I needed to give them was more stuff and a
Yep.
higher paying job. But all I ever needed to give them was my undivided presence. And it took that night and that ayahuasca retreat for me to realize that. So,
I'm realizing that more and more every day, raising my son.
mm,
Like, me and my husband were always like, trying to give him the next best thing and all this stuff. And, um, like you said, just being present in his life and having two sober parents and like making memories together, those are the things that he's going to remember when
mhm.
he's 25 or 30 years old.
Yeah.
He's not going to be like, oh, my mom didn't buy me a PlayStation 5. You know what I mean? He's going to
Yeah.
remember the vacations we took and
Hmm.
the fun stuff him and his dad went and did at the shooting range and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, so what I learned from my experience too was that in terms of a gay man with a crystal meth addiction, uh, it's a different scenario. There's a lot of similarities, but there's also a lot of differences. Like in the gay in the gay world, we have a Zoom. You can go on Zoom, um, Reddit, Telegram, Twitter. There's all these platforms you can go on 24/7 and use in real time with men all around the world. And so that's a different scenario. So anyway, the treatment centers I noticed that I was going through in the drug court, the treatment centers, they couldn't, there were gaps
Yep.
in the treatment that they were giving me. I had enough mental fortitude that I kind of filled in the gaps on my own. But they were missing the mark and they didn't quite understand the nature of what meth does to our brains in terms of, the dopamine is so high. Like we get into these taboo things. Like I mentioned fisting earlier. Well, fisting isn't enough. Now we need two fists.
Yep.
Now I need a fist in my mouth. Am I? It's like you have to go higher and higher and higher. And you do all these taboo things. These men are traumatized. They come out on
Yeah.
the other end traumatized by what they did, what they looked at, and so it's a dark situation. So that's what led me to planning all along that I was going to be a sobriety coach, a recovery coach, specifically for men who have sex with men, who want to recover from crystal meth, because I get it. I've been there. I know how you think, so you can't get one over on me. I can predict very clearly about how to get you pried off of this drug. And we have an app called Grinder that we can access meth no matter where we are in the world within an hour. It,
Yeah,
uh,
and I don't think you guys, a lot of people that are going to watch this that are not gay, like they don't understand, like you said, you guys can go on this app, you guys can meet people, you can use substances together on a video chats together. I mean, and it's all sex and drugs, sex and drugs, sex and drugs, and the next best thing. Like you were saying, I had sex with one person today. Can I have sex with three people at the same time? Five, six, and it's
yep.
like, and just like you're seeking the dopamine with the meth, you're seeking the dopamine with the sex as well. So it's two. Would you say that it's two addictions, like sex addiction as well as drug addiction, meth
Uh,
addiction?
yeah. Oftentimes they're co-occurring addictions. There's usually a sex addiction, and almost always a porn addiction for sure.
Yeah.
When you puff crystal meth, you want to watch hours and hours and hours of porn, and a lot of times the guys couldn't take their eyes off the porn to even have sex.
Yes, and I've experienced this with straight men before as well.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny. I told you I'm getting an onslaught of straight women and straight men contacting me, and the women are saying he won't have sex with me unless he's holding porn in his hand on his
Yep.
phone.
I have,
Yeah.
and me and my husband didn't go through that particularly together, but before I met him, I was seeing a guy who he would not disconnect from porn. Like it was, I want to say 16 hours just on having it on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just even if we weren't even being sexual, in the background, like on the TV, like it was just like
Backgrounds,
like it was Full House or something, like a regular TV show.
Yep.
Back then, I was, on drugs, so I was just like, whatever. But when I got sober and I started reflecting on all this, I'm like, wow, it was just like it was a normal thing,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it
Isn't that
wasn't normal
crazy?
though,
Yeah, you're right. I had it on the TV as background sound. We would play it on the stereo in the car, the radio in the car, going down the road. With our hands, one hand on the steering wheel, one hand on our penis.
Would you say that when your kids came to you and they said that they wanted you in their lives, it was you just disconnected from that life and you had that spiritual experience? But would you say that your kids were like a really big driving force and motivation to helping you stay sober? Because that's how I feel about my son.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if I hadn't had the kids, I'd have been dead probably.
Yeah.
To be honest, I really would have. And so when they came to me that day, to be quite honest, I had burned down their lives. I had taken down 2 innocent people's lives who never asked for it. And so the 3 of us were standing there with nothing left. And so the 3 of us had to rebuild our lives. So it wasn't just me. We had to bond together. The mom was out of the picture at this point. The 3 of us did it. And through that became the closest dad and kids I've ever seen. I mean, we're basically 3 best friends.
Yeah.
Now, because we've been through the fucking trenches here, the gutter, and neither one of them will touch drugs. My son was offered coke recently and he didn't want to do it because of that. That's one good thing that came out of the experience.
That is so awesome.
They're both like, no thanks. But we had to do it together, and yes, it was a driving force for sure. I mean, and I will tell you, in the very beginning, I was faking it until I made it in drug court. I was thinking, the first few months, I was like, as soon as I get the fuck out of here, as soon as I do the dog and pony show, I'm done. But the longer I was sober and the closer I got to the kids, and the more I saw what life could be like on the other side, then I started to really like it and to really buy into it. And like, okay, this is me now. This is my identity now. I'm not Dallas, the meth head. I am Dallas, the sober person, and so sometimes you have to fake it. Right. But because of drug court, yes. And the kids, that's what propelled me to, I'm a success story of drug court. It was just the after. That's what that, I think we all have a decision point at some, and maybe several, where you decide when you make a decision to go this way with your sobriety. Like I made a decision to block those numbers. There's something spiritual about that. There's something energetic about that. I think in my mind, I sent out a message saying, I am done.
Yeah.
Without saying it, without praying it, I'm letting the universe know, okay, I give up. This is done. But I had to do it. I had to make the decision. That's why I say my higher power is me.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I'm taking my power back. I'm putting in the work. I'm like, 100%. And I believe that the more that, like you said, the longer that I've stayed off of meth, the I feel like the easier it is for me every time, every year. Like I come up, and a lot of people ask me this, and I'm sure you get this question too. Like, do I have triggers, or do I think about using? And there's some days where I think about meth. I mean, I talk about it all the time, so I think about it a lot.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I don't. Now that I'm getting my weight and stuff under control, like I don't think about it in a way where I'm like, wow, I want to go back to use that. Now, when I was struggling with my weight a little bit more, it was more of a trigger. For you, do you have triggers?
Yeah.
I'm sure it's not your weight, but like
Mhm.
other situations that trigger you to think about want to
Mhm.
use or anything like that?
Yeah. So being a sobriety coach, and like you said, I talk about meth from morning to. I've been talking about meth now since 8 o'clock this morning. It's 12 hours.
Yeah.
um, it does stir it up a lot, but my time is the twilight time when your brain goes into that. I think it's that alpha state or whatever. It's right before sleep. So it's right before a nap or right before sleep. The memories of use come in, and always it's a vision of that needle in the arm, the blood going in, and the plunger going down every time, over and
Every time
over.
I have a drug dream, that's what it is.
Yeah. 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 And my body, my heart rate increases. I start sweating. I get an erection. The back of my throat gets cold. I cough. Everything as if I had just done it. The body, that is imprinted on my body, and I don't know if that it'll ever leave, to be honest.
Yeah.
The difference is, this is what I was saying to people today, is the cravings don't go away. You just learn better coping skills and techniques. The other time I'm triggered is at the gym a lot. When I'm working out, my veins are popping.
Yep.
I see the vein, and before I can even make a decision, it pops in my mind, the image, and
Yeah.
then my body will react that way. So my technique is always, you can't help what the subconscious pops in your mind. You can help the next thought. So the next thought is, for me, I take myself to when I was lying in that under that tree, or I take myself to my kids. I take the next thought somewhere horrible.
Yeah,
And
I
that
do the same
diffuses it.
thing.
Yeah,
I
good.
think
Yeah.
about the day I had to hand my son over to the damn CPS caseworker.
Oh
And
my
it's
gosh.
like, boom, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Like, like that's
Buzzkill.
exactly
Buzzkill. Yeah.
what I do is I shift my
Wow.
thoughts. And
Yeah.
then I will also, like, if it's really bad and I shift my thoughts, I'm still feeling the heebie-jeebies,
Yeah.
I will call somebody or come on a video,
Uh,
make a video, go live, call a friend, and
mhm.
just talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Isn't that the key? Is that keeping it in the shadows just gives it power. But when we shine light on, this is how I'm feeling right now, and not being afraid of it, when we shine light on that, that's what takes the power away from it.
100%. I
Hmm.
mean, I'm putting a spotlight on it, and I'm not
Yeah.
ashamed. And I want other people who watch this. If you're watching the live now, or you watch it back, like I feel like a lot of the times we are taught to be ashamed, and that there's nothing to be ashamed of, that you thought about it or that you felt that feeling. There's no shame if you're still struggling, if you're still using. Like, talking about it, being open about it, like Dallas said, shining the light on it is what's going to help you escape that darkness.
Mhm.
You're not alone, and you don't ever have to feel like that either.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's another decision point, right? You,
Yeah.
you can decide to feed it. The next thought could be, "Ooh, that would be hot," or "Ooh, that would feel good," and that's when you're taking it, you're finishing the thought into a relapse at that point, or
So
possible
tell me
relapse.
this. So you've been sober for 6 years, right?
Yep.
Which, like, I heard you also say one time on your videos, "Oh, you've been sober for 6 years? That doesn't impress me." Which I totally get. I totally understand what you're saying,
Yeah.
because, like,
Yeah.
it doesn't really matter how long you've been sober. Like, anybody could pick up. Like, anything could happen, and
Mhm.
we could toss our sobriety way down the drain. Like, what are you working with? What are you doing? Um, to be a better person, to help
Right.
others, to be a part of your children's lives, to be a good employee, a good wife, a good husband, a good friend. And so, will you share with us about like what you do, how you help other people?
Mhm.
And um, I'm going to link all your social medias in the description box and the comment section of this video. So for anybody on here that wants to reach out to Dallas, I'm going to link everything so you guys can connect with him. But will you share with
Thank you
us
for that.
about what you do?
Yeah, yeah. So right now, I am mainly, well, only. I'm open to working. I'm opening myself up to working with women if they want to work with me. Only because I've had so many come to me and say, "Listen, your video says gay man, but everything you say applies to me." Um, but I'm shocked at the amount of moms out there, housewives, moms who are smoking a bowl in the mornings,
Yeah.
you know, to get through the day, and they can't stop. And I'll try to help, but it seems out of my realm. But I don't know. But so I work with men who have sex with men, and so that includes straight men who have, do butt stuff when they're on
Yeah.
meth, because there's plenty of them. They have trauma too. They have trauma. They have shame around it. Am I gay? Am I bi? What am I? All these kind of questions. But I help gay men. I'm going to just say gay men get recovered. And so my clientele are men who are functioning. But they're in this usually a 2 to 3 month relapse cycle. And they're in this cycle and they just can't seem to stop. So they're in the last stages, basically. Because if you come right out of a meth addiction, you probably have no money, no car, you're in psychosis. You need to go into rehab, right? Or
Yeah.
detox or something like that. Working with me is not plausible. So I help them figure out, first of all, what the cycle is through journaling. I'm a big journaling proponent. If you watch my stuff, and to me, that's how that's how I got myself out of clinical depression. That's how I got myself out of relapse, was journaling every single day, looking back and realizing, oh, 3 months, my cycle's 3 months. So I have to be in 90 days. I'm going to really be on guard, and I'm going to put some safeguards in place. I'm going to put myself in a cage, basically, so that I can't use. And so we figure out what your cycle is. We figure out what your intrusive thoughts are, what kind of, I don't get into therapy, but basically, what are your limiting beliefs? What are the limiting beliefs that brought you here? Mine was, I don't belong anywhere. That was a limiting belief that flowered into an addiction. So if we can discover what that is, then we can plug it into how that's affecting your entire life. The person you choose to date, the person you hate at work, the person in your family you have a problem with. That, I promise, is all tied to what your limiting belief is, that I am not enough belief is. So we figured that out after we, and somewhere along the lines, we also do a lot of guided meditations. I'm big on detaching yourself from the addiction it's a part of you, but it's not you. And
Yeah.
when you detach from it, you become the compassionate witness of it. And when you become the compassionate witness of it, you are in charge. It's not in charge of you anymore, but you are observing it, because it's not who you are, right? Your soul doesn't know addiction.
Yeah.
Your soul self isn't an addict. So you're really just returning it's really a journey back to self.
I think you would do great with women, women though, because I've always I've always had like a connection with gay men, and I feel like a lot of moms and women that are like me, that's probably why you're attracting those women, because they feel comfortable and safe with you. Just so
Okay.
you know, like
Yeah,
a
yeah,
lot of
yeah.
women feel safe with gay men because we've had such bad experiences
Ah,
with men.
that's true. I didn't think about that. I
So
didn't
just
think about
saying.
that.
Um,
Yeah, it's
So,
true.
okay, I just want to ask you, like, if so, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna wrap this up, and I'm
Mhm.
gonna link all your socials. But
Thank
before I
you.
let you off here, would you just, if there's somebody that's watching this video right
Mhm.
now, they're watching the playback, they're in the live stream right now, and they just feel like they can't get sober. Like how
Mhm.
Dallas got sober, but I can't do that.
Mhm.
Like, what are some words of encouragement that
Yeah.
she would give to somebody that is struggling, that feels like they can't obtain recovery?
Hmm. Well, I would say, first of all, shame does not heal shame. So, in any way that you're shaming yourself, I would take a look at that and reverse it. That would be the first step. And if you confide in anyone, whether they be 12 steps or not, and you feel shame in that conversation, run away from them. Because shame does not heal shame, and we have to get away from that. We have to stop saying, I had 7 months, I relapsed, and I don't have any time anymore. That's bullshit. You worked
I love
hard.
that.
Yeah.
I love. I don't even believe that you should even worry about saying, like, sure, if you want to be honest with the person that you're working with and say, today I slipped, okay. But
Mhm.
when you're running a marathon and
That's
you
right.
trip and fall, do you
That's
turn
right.
around and go back to the freaking beginning of the damn
Yeah.
marathon?
That's
Hell no, you
exactly.
pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and keep on
Yeah.
moving.
Yeah. That's exactly what I say. That's exactly
So
what I
I
say.
feel the same way. Sorry,
I
I'm so passionate about this, and the
yeah.
fact that you're saying this stuff just makes me so happy to hear it. Because I'm like,
I
yes, I'm putting my name behind somebody that I like. I want to vouch for you. Like, I
mm,
really
yeah.
love what you're doing,
Thank
and I'm
you.
like, man, this is what I'm talking about. This is what we need more of: encouragement, no
Mm,
shame.
right,
Okay,
right. Thank
go
you.
ahead.
It just hurts my heart in these Facebook groups. Well, I had a year, but now I'm starting over. I'm like, no, you worked hard. You put in the work for a year of sober time. Who says that it disappears? Who
Yeah.
makes who makes the rule book here? Just no one. No one makes a rule book. You do.
Yep.
We have got to understand that we are in charge here. Self-empowerment is the key. Not just and we have to understand that sobriety, recovery is not being free from the substance. Recovery is self-actualization, is taking the power into your own hands, deciding for yourself, this is my definition of sobriety. This is my route to sobriety. I'm going to take this, I'm going to take that, and I'm going to do what's best for me. I'm not asking you what you think. I'm not looking in a big book to know what to think. I am tuning into my own body, and I'm going to feel what's right and what's wrong for me. And that's true recovery to me. So that's what I would say. The other part I would say to someone is just do one thing different today that you've never done before to start the process. Whether it could be turn your phone off for 1 hour. It could be write one sentence on a paper. It could be take one walk. There is something powerful and energetic that sends a ripple effect out when you change the routine, you interrupt the pattern just one little bit today. I'm telling you, it has a difference. You are sending out an intention, just like when I deleted those apps or, deleted those contacts. One little change can tell your subconscious, oh, wait a minute, we're changing up here. We're going in a different direction. We're doing something different. We're changing our life. And so just revel in that. Just revel in every tiny win you can. Anchor into that and stop focusing on you're not defected. You don't need a moral inventory. You are perfect the way you are. So that's what I would say.
I agree. I agree 100%. I'm so grateful that you agreed to come on here and join me today. Um, just so everybody knows that's watching right now and that watches us back, I am trying to hustle Dallas into joining me like once a month or bi-weekly or something like that, where we do a show. And like
Hmm.
he comes on and we just pick his brain and we talk about all the things. So I'll let you guys know if we decide to move forward with that. And when we do, we'll make it like a set thing on a certain date, a certain time, every time. So that way you guys will know to come and show up, and we're not just popping up on your feed, so you can prepare for it. You know what I mean? But I just really, really, really want to thank you.
Thank you. I just am so impressed by your generosity, and your purity of heart and your authenticity, because you don't meet people like that often at all. You know, when I first started, I was reaching out to so many people and I would get ignored, left on red, that whole shit. But you have just given me this huge, gigantic hug that it has felt really warm and inviting, and actually very healing for me. Very healing for me, because it's like I still struggle, still sometimes, with not feeling like I belong somewhere and feeling rejected. There's a wound there, and it gets activated a lot. But you have really worked to heal that, and I just really appreciate that a lot.
Just so you know, I had the same experience when I started social media back in 2017. 2016 is when I've told my story for the first time here on Facebook. And basically what happened was they kicked me out of the recovery groups, told me I wasn't sober because I was on Suboxone for opiate use disorder, and totally shunned me. And so I deleted my Facebook account and I disappeared for a year. And then I reappeared in 2017 and started building my socials. And so because of that experience, I have always went out of my way to welcome in people and to bring people on who were just getting started, who maybe didn't even have a social media following, that I believed in their message, you know? And so I really love what you're doing, and your content is spot on. And I wouldn't, like, everybody here knows, like, I was doing meth for a long time, and that was my main drug of choice, and I was in it. And when I heard you talking and what you were saying, it's just, you know what you're talking about when it comes to methamphetamine addiction, you know? And so I was like, I gotta get this guy on my show, you know what I mean? And just like chop it up and talk about meth. And so, I just want you to know that, like, I really like, the reason why I asked you is because what you're saying and what you're doing is spot on, and it's good. Like, you're not just talking to hear yourself talk.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I really appreciate it. And I hope I can have you on many times after this, you know? And so, anyways, I don't mean to get emotional and stuff. I'm a little awkward when it comes to emotions. You know?
But well, I would definitely want to have you on. I have to talk to you about that to schedule it. I definitely want to have you on my podcast, The Aftermath.
I'll come on anytime.
Your story, the story that you told me the other day, I really need that to get out. You know, I really want that to get out, and so I'm anxious to have you on.
And our views about recovery, I feel like they are aligning so much and crossing over into each other. And a lot of the reasons why I have these feelings is because I was indoctrinated into 12-step for so many years, and then they turned their back on me because I didn't find recovery through their process. So it's like you've experienced rejection. Like, that was the rejection I went through, you know? And so I can totally relate to how you're feeling. Like, I feel the same way. And so I always find it so healing to find other people online who are like kindred spirits, like kind and loving and truly, like, I truly want you to do better, because if you do better, I do better. We all do better together. You know what I mean?
That's such a beautiful attitude. I love that.
I really appreciate you coming on. I'm going to link all your social medias. I want all of you guys to follow Dallas, and I'm going to text you. I'm going to pull you off the screen, and I'll see you later. And send me a link that I can link. Do you have like a one link I can link, or do we have to? Do I need to do like?
You can use my link tree.
Okay, yeah. Will you text it to me real fast?
Yeah, I will.
Okay, all right. I love you, man. I'll see you in a minute. I'll text you.
Okay.
All right, bye. Okay, now I got to get you off the screen, because there we go. Boom, boom. Let me see. Boom. Okay. Oh my gosh, you guys. I got tear on y'all. What did you guys think about Dallas? Okay. I'm telling you that we didn't even get into we just tipped the iceberg with what we talked about tonight. Okay, so that was Dallas Bragg. I hope you guys enjoyed hearing his story about how he got into his meth addiction, about how he sharing about how he came out, and he knew he was gay since a young age, and what he went through with his wife and his children. And I hope that you guys can find strength through that. I know I have a very large LGBTQI plus following online, and I want you guys to know that I am an ally of yours. For those of you guys that do not know, my sister is a lesbian, and she is my little baby sister. I love her so much, and so I've always been an ally. But I really wanted to. I don't think I've ever brought anyone on in from the LGBTQI plus community, at least not a man. I think I brought on some women that were in the community, but not a man. And so, or at least not in over a year or so. But anyway, Dallas is very, very special. And what he's sharing online is real. It's real. It's raw. He doesn't sugarcoat it. He shares it. And he's putting himself out there to share this very, very personal information online. And so, and he's doing that in hopes to help other people. And I can support that because I have the same passion to want to help other people as well. So I am going to link all of his social media accounts. He just sent me his link tree in the bio of this video, and I will drop it down in the comment section a couple times so you guys will be able to access it. Okay. Please follow Dallas over on his TikTok account. It's Dallas Bragg, Bragg. And here on Facebook, he is also on YouTube and he is on Instagram. So he is everywhere. Okay. If you guys enjoyed tonight's video, please thumbs up, like the video. Please share this video with your friends, share it into some other recovery groups. Please leave some comments and engage with this video. Let's get it pushed out there into the Facebook algorithm, okay? If you guys enjoyed me having a guest on, let me know. I'm trying to push myself to get back on track with my content and bringing guest speakers on. So if this is something that you guys enjoyed, let me know so that way I know to do more of it for you. Okay? All right. I love you guys, and I'll see y'all tomorrow. All right? Bye.